Hi folks, so in the last video we had a look at debugging tools. In this one, I'd like to focus a little bit on three special actions that came with the index controllers. So let's start it off with GripGrab. So I'm just going to add an action called GripGrab here and add the right index controller button GripGrab. So similar to the previous videos, I'm just going to regenerate the controller bindings and action manifest. And you could see from here, I'm going to just show you how this is triggered from the input debugger. I'm lightly pressing on the right controller handle, three fingers. So once those three fingers are very lightly touching the the grip handle, you could basically trigger the grip grab action. So that's how this is triggered. So it's just a special calculation that handles that triggering. So at this stage, I'd just like to add something interesting to grab. Grabbing something from the Paragon assets. So Wukong specifically. So once I've got Wukong in here, I'm just going to show you what I want to take from him. So opening up Wukong, you can see that he's got a nice staff here, and then I'm just going to use it for grabbing, some interesting grabbing mechanic. All right, so export and then save, export, and let's open it up in Blender. So just importing the character that we've exported in Unreal, and just gonna what I'm gonna be trying to do is try to isolate this staff here and export that staff as its own static mesh. So I'm just going to select that, link it, duplicate that, and create a new object out of that. I'm just going to try to manipulate the 3D cursor to somewhere around the middle bit so that we can change the origin to that part of the staff. All right. Once it's done, just select the object and export it. Make sure you only select the selected objects and just the mesh. Just gonna name this SM underscore Wukong staff and export. That's it. All right, so back in Unreal, we'll just import that mesh and just click import. Just remove the material that came along with it. And let's just open this mesh up and add the material back, the staff material, infernal staff I'm adding in here. So that's looking pretty cool. Awesome. Really nice. All right, so now that we've got the mesh here, we'd want to create a mechanic, a grabbing mechanic. So what I'm gonna do first is just create a new blueprint interface. This will be used to identify the grabbable meshes, so the Paragon and grabbable meshes that we're going to be putting into the level. So going back here, I'll just add the mesh and just position it a little bit nicely. All right, I think that's pretty much okay. I'm going to create a blueprint out of this static mesh. Just call it BP Wukong staff. All right, and now let's implement the interface that we just created to help identify this as a grabbable Paragon object. And now what I do is go to motion controller and let me just try to find event graph. All right. So we're just gonna put the GripGrab input here and let's look at the grab sphere. So from that grab sphere, we're gonna check any overlapping actors that are in the grab sphere when the GripGrab action is triggered. And we're just going to go through each of the actors that's overlapping it. And for that actor, we'll check if it implements the Paragon interface that we just created. So if it implements that Paragon interface, what we're going to do is we're going to attach that to the hand mesh. All right. So I'm just going to change this to snap the target. Keep world and keep world for rotation and keep world for scale. And I want a precise positioning for this grab mechanic. So I'm gonna add a socket for this. So add socket, and I'm just gonna name it, yeah, Paragon. Move it around, sorry, move it towards the, somewhere around the center, I guess, of the palm. So that it'll snap right through that, and call it Paragon. And that should be it. But let's create a variable here for the actor to store the actor that we just grabbed. We're going to be using this to do the release mechanic. So save that and on, so that we can release this one. So get Paragon and then convert it to a validated get. So this one we're going to detach. And we'll just keep world. We want to keep the world coordinates and scaling for the detached actor. All right, so that's the grab mechanic done. Just gonna make sure that this is actually movable. It actually has overlaps enabled, and the motion controller, we need to check if it accepts input. All right, doesn't, we add that in, and we're good to go. So you can see, we can now grab this nice Wukong staff here, and I can just release, and then it'll stay in place, and grab it and stay in place, keep its rotation and scale. Now for those who've played Paragon, you'd know that the staff has the ability to grow and shrink. Let's implement this in VR using another special input that comes with the index controllers, where it sends out an axis value or a float value depending on how much force you exert on the grip. To implement this, start by adding a new axis input, so engine input, and let's go to axis mappings. Let's call this Paragon GripForce, and SteamVR Valve Index GripForce. We're just gonna add that to the right. Regenerate everything again, launch the dashboard, and let's just do a quick sanity check. All right, so Paragon GripForce is here, and you can see the values changing from 0 to 1, depending on the value coming in from the driver. Alrighty, so once we're happy with that, let's actually implement the mechanic. So we'll start off with cleaning up grab here, and then add GripForce axis event, and we'll use the Paragon actor that we've saved, and just to make sure, we need to actually implement the interface. So let's add a function called Paragon ability with an input of scale, a float input of scale. So that's a new function that we can implement onto the interface. So Paragon ability, add that to scale. So now let's implement it onto in the actor. Where did I put that thing? I'll just click it from here and then clean up and add a new event from the new function called Paragon ability. And we'll want to change the scale of this component. So set world scale 3D. And then we'll get the world scale. Let's split this struct, and just plug everything right in. Do a little bit of cleanup. All right, so we'd want to put the X and Y as a consistent scale, but the scale coming in should be a linear transform. So we'll use square root +1, and that should make it linear. So save. And now let's see. All right, so I'm just gonna clear this variable because I forgot to do that earlier. Alrighty, so now we can play around with this. And I'm pressing the grip. So I'm not sure how good it is on the 2D screen, but certainly in VR, it's very convincing. So it feels pretty cool. So the more force I apply to the grip, the longer the staff gets, the less force, the shorter it gets. Next, let's have a look at another special input that comes with the index controllers. So where you have all fingers enclosed in the grip with the forefinger on resting on the trigger with the thumb resting on the trackpad, the index controller will then send out a special action called a pinch grab. To start, let's add another action input for the pinch grab. So action input, and let's call this pinch grab and add it to the left index controller this time, left pinch grab. We generate all the action manifest and controller bindings. Let's just do a quick check and see pinch grab. So you can see if I do the pinch pose that I described earlier, we should be able to get the pinch grab triggering. Cool. So once it's done, let's actually make this a little bit interesting. I'll add a Paragon Gideon mechanic. So just adding the Gideon Paragon assets into the project now. Once that's in, we should see Paragon Gideon. There you go. And let's look for the ring. Add that to the scene. So we'll use this portal um, to kind of trigger an event for the pinch grab. Just positioning this a little bit to make it a bit more interesting. All right, so the mechanic will center around this material instance here. So if you could see that this parameter here, when set to 500 by default, looks like that. If I set that to 1, it'll look like that. So we'll flip-flop between those two states. And let's just create a actor out of this static mesh. So BP underscore, let's call this portal, create blueprint, and let's add the Paragon ability interface onto this actor as well. Do a bit of cleanup, and let's implement the Paragon ability. So this is going to be pretty simple. It's just going to be flip-flopping between the two states, as I mentioned. So to implement this, we're going to create a material instance dynamic. So material instance dynamic, so we create a variable and then we'll set this variable in the construction script by creating a dynamic material instance. Just plug that in. And I forgot the name of the parent material. Let's have a quick look. Yep, so ring mesh. There you go. And plug that in. So once we've saved, we can then set that material instance dynamic. But before I forget, let's actually set the material to the material instance dynamic dynamic material instance that we just created at element 0. Alrighty, so just get this, and now we can do a set scalar parameter value. The parameter value that we want to change, let's have another look, is near field distance, so near fade distance. So just set that to 1.0 first time it gets triggered, and set it to 500 the next time it gets triggered. So it'll flip-flop between those two states. Alrighty, so we're almost pretty much done here. Just double check the collisions. There's no collision that came with this asset, so I'm just adding a simple sphere collision. And just make sure that the overlaps are working. So overlap all dynamic, and it's set to movable as well. And there you go. Let's have, actually, we haven't implemented the actual mechanic yet. So do a pinch grab axis. And let's just copy all of these from the grab mechanic, the selection criteria for the actors. And instead of attaching the actor, we'll just trigger the Paragon ability this time if we do a pinch grab. You should be able to pinch grab, and you could see that the portal activates the way we want to. And we combine the two mechanics, so it looks pretty cool. Awesome. So in this video, we covered the two special grab mechanics, PinchGrab and GripGrab, as well as the GripForce special GripForce mechanic that comes with the index controller. So overall, this is for the entire video series. This covers a lot of the fundamentals of the plugin. If I missed anything, or if you have anything else that you want me to cover, just leave me a comment in Twitter or here in YouTube. And yeah, and I'll try to create a video for it. So thanks, folks, and I'll see you on the next video. Have fun.